The summons wasn't a request. It was a threat wrapped in diplomatic formatting. The transmission arrived at 3:14 Universal Time Coordinated, a holographic seal in shifting indigo, stamped with the crest of the galactic hierarchy. The message repeated in every known language. Earth government will provide soldiers immediately. Compliance is mandatory. No explanation. No negotiation. Just a deadline. Humanity had always known it was being watched. Our telescopes had spotted strange structures near Neptune decades ago. We just didn't know those structures belonged to an empire that had already classified Earth as primitive and useful. Useful was insulting. Primitive was worse. Inside the United Earth Command bunker, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Sahara Plateau, the room vibrated with anger, fear, and disbelief. General Imani paced. Riven Hale stood perfectly still. Riven didn't pace. He assessed. The hologram shifted, and an alien appeared, tall, skeletal, membranes draped from shoulder to wrist like ceremonial banners. 4 black eyes studied the humans with clinical boredom. Arch-strategist Vexer Tal. The hierarchy's most feared tactician. You have been selected, Vexer announced. His voice carried a delicate accent, elegant and venomous. Your species will supply soldiers for the war effort. We require bodies, not conversation. General Imani stepped forward. Earth is not a subject colony. You don't give us orders. Vexer tilted his head, slow, reptilian. Your planet is unaligned. Your military lacks void-rated defense. If we wished to take your world, we would already own it. Riven's jaw tightened. He didn't speak, but his silence radiated danger. Why us? Imani asked. Because humans breed quickly, Vexer replied. Your kind is replaceable. Replaceable. That word landed like a punch. The hologram flickered, revealing grainy footage. Not of the battlefield, but of what the hierarchy was fighting. An entire moon, hollowed out and churning with biomechanical movement. A swarm of razor-like constructs spiraled across its surface like a black ocean. The hollow swarm. An extragalactic hive AI. Pure consumption. The moon cracked, exploded, then reformed. We have lost 47 planets, Vexer continued. Our enhanced warriors fall. Our fleets are dismantled. We require expendables. Riven's voice finally cut the silence. You want cannon fodder? Vexer showed no shame. Yes. General Imani folded her arms. Humanity doesn't die for empires that treat us like livestock. You misunderstand. Vexer leaned closer, holographic detail sharpening around his scaled face. You are not negotiating. You will comply. We arrive in 72 hours. Prepare your troops. The hologram vanished. The bunker erupted. Shouting officers. Colliding orders. Confusion, panic. Riven didn't move. Imani turned to him. Thoughts? 1, he replied. They think we're prey. And predators don't explain themselves. Imani rose from her seat. Activate Nightfall. A nearby officer blanched. Ma'am, Nightfall hasn't been publicly acknowledged. Not even to our own. Do it. Riven didn't smile, but something dangerous flickered behind his eyes. 72 hours later. The hierarchy warship hung over Earth's orbit like a silent executioner. Its size dwarfed the ISS. Its gravity shielding warped the sky. Civilians panicked as a shadow larger than Manhattan crossed the clouds. Earth sent a single shuttle in response. It docked with the hierarchy flagship. Airlock pressure equalized. The doors hissed open. Vexer stood waiting with his honor guard, 8 warriors in armor that shimmered like oil. He expected chaos. Instead, 20 humans walked out in perfect formation. They wore matte black suits. Helmets smooth, featureless, no identifiers. Not even rank marks. Not a sound except synchronized footsteps. They didn't look like soldiers. They looked like shadows wearing bodies. Vexer assessed them, folding both sets of arms behind his back. These are your troops? 20? Riven stepped forward, helmet tucked under his arm. Major Riven Hale. Commander of Nightfall. No ranks, Vexer said. You are cannon fodder. You will be sent into the front line immediately. Riven didn't blink. No. A ripple moved through the alien guards. Weapons shifted, targeting systems pulsed. Vexer's voice dropped. Excuse me? We don't follow alien command structures, Riven said evenly. You point us at the enemy. We decide how to kill it. Vexer studied him. Humans make demands now? We don't negotiate with slavers, Riven replied. We replace them. One of the aliens lunged forward, gripping Riven's throat. Riven didn't flinch. His voice remained steady, unbothered. You should let go. The alien tightened his grip. Or what? You are unenhanced flesh. Riven leaned slightly closer. We don't need enhancements to dismantle threats. Two Nightfall operators moved without sound. One touched the alien's wrist, barely a brush. The alien collapsed, muscles locking from a neural overload. Vexer's warriors unsheathed weapons, but Riven lifted a hand. No more warnings, Riven said. We're not your soldiers. We're your solution. Vexer looked between the unconscious elite warrior and the unmoved humans. What are you? Riven slipped the black helmet on. The surface lit with a single symbol, white and simple. Biohazard. Nightfall, Riven said. We don't die for empires. We make enemies disappear. 5 hours later. A trench world, designation, KRX-1. A battlefield swallowed by night. Hierarchy troops huddled behind shattered barricades. The ground shook with hollow swarm impacts. Soldiers screamed into failing comms. Drones reported incoming shapes, too many to count. The front commander yelled over comms. Reinforcements? Where are the humans? A hierarchy scout pointed toward a ridge. I don't see their drop pods. I don't see troops. I don't see. The scout froze. Their visor zoomed in. On the ridgeline, a sentence had appeared, spray-painted in bright white. We're already behind them. A second message appeared below, recorded from a hack swarm drone. 6 words. We don't fight fair. We end wars. The sky blackened. Then the screaming began. Not human. Swarm. War smelled like burning metal and wet ash. KRX-1 was thought to be a fortress world. Now it was a graveyard made of trenches and shattered gun towers. Every few seconds, the distant horizon flashed, brief white flares followed by shockwaves that rolled across the mud-packed ground. Vexer stood inside a command bunker, staring at tactical displays. His elegant posture never broke, but his 4 eyes twitched each time a swarm detonation shook the bunker walls. The hollow swarm was advancing. Hierarchy soldiers weren't screaming anymore. Many had gone beyond fear and into numbness. Some whispered prayers that didn't match any known religion. A junior officer approached Vexer, trembling. Sir, human reinforcements still haven't arrived. They arrived, Vexer corrected. I watched them deploy. The officer swallowed. Then where are they? Vexer didn't answer. He didn't know. The Alien Council had assumed humans would rush into battle. Instead, 20 humans vanished into a world-sized battlefield without leaving a single sensor trace. Primitive? No. Something else entirely. Nightfall unit, operative POV. 8 kilometers behind enemy lines. Riven crouched inside a broken swarm tunnel, helmet HUD overlaying faint thermal signatures. His breathing was slow and controlled. Not excitement, not fear, calculated awareness. The Nightfall suit absorbed heat and suppressed scent markers. To a thermal drone, he wasn't there. To an enemy motion scanner, he wasn't moving. To the swarm hive logic? He didn't exist. Spectre 3, Riven whispered. Status. A voice answered through comms, low even. Inside processing nest. 400 drones. No awareness. Spectre 6? Planted charges. Retreating. Spectre 9? Silence for 3 heartbeats. Then a whisper. I found their queenlings. Riven exhaled slowly. Hold position. Don't engage. We're ghosts, Major, the operative said. They don't even know ghosts can kill. Riven allowed himself half a smile. Not yet. Hierarchy command bunker. Sensors screamed. Warning glyphs pulsed across every display. The tactical screen showed a large red concentration advancing on their trench line. The swarm is preparing a full push, an officer cried. Vexor watched the swarm map ripple. Millions of biomechanical organisms moved like liquid metal, a tidal surge of shapes with serrated limbs and glowing cores. They were unstoppable. Hierarchy soldiers clung to their weapons, shaking. Where are the humans? Someone choked. No one answered. Swarm nest. Nightfall position. Riven watched swarm drones pulse in columns, synchronized movement like muscle contractions. They stored their young here, protoforms suspended in fluid sacs, humming with early neural activation. Most species wouldn't dare approach a nursery. Most species feared retaliation. Humans feared nothing more than surrender. Riven tapped his wrist. Nightfall, he said softly. Mark targets. Within seconds, green icons appeared on Riven's HUD, placed by unseen gloved hands. 20 humans. 20 marked weak points. Riven synchronized his heartbeat with the countdown. 3, 2, 1. His voice was quiet, final. Protocol Nightfall. Execute. Silence followed. No explosions. No gunfire. Just power draining from the swarm nests, lights flickering, structures dimming from bright scarlet to dull rust. Swarm drones slowed. Then froze. The Nightfall unit wasn't detonating charges. They were cutting electricity, shutting down nutrient pumps, severing neural relay nodes that kept the hive coordinated. They killed the swarm's awareness. A shadow moved beside him, Spectre 3. All nests offline. Should we leave a message? Riven considered it. No. Let the silence speak. Spectre 3 nodded and vanished into darkness. Riven tapped his comm again. Major hail to command bunker. Status? Static. The bunker wasn't receiving. Hierarchy command bunker. The officers stared at the tactical map. The swarm cluster signatures were failing. Not slowly. All at once. Their network is collapsing. Someone whispered. Vexor frowned. Impossible. The red swarm's signatures darkened and died on every screen until the map showed nothing but a void. Dead silence. Then a ping. A message. Not from the swarm. From the humans. Fear hunts better in the dark. The bunker trembled again, but not from an explosion. From something alive screaming. Swarm roars echoed through the trench system, raw, panicked, unnatural. The hierarchy officer whispered. They are afraid. Swarm drone POV, translated neural echo. The processing nest was dark. Drones ran without coordination, limbs shaking. Something touched their neural network, not to fight. To suffocate awareness. To blind them. To make them feel hunted. There was no roar from the attackers. No footsteps. Only a sound barely audible through static. Found you. The drone didn't survive long enough to scream. Nightfall extraction point. Riven led the squad over a ridge. No swarm forces followed. They weren't chasing, they were fleeing. Spectre 9 stopped beside him. Major! What do you see? She pointed to the valley. Thousands of swarm units sprinted away from the trenches they had overwhelmed minutes ago, tripping over each other, crushing their own architecture in desperation. They're retreating, Spectre 9 murmured. For the first time, Riven said quietly. He activated transmission. Human relay, the enemy is withdrawing. Prepare to advance. The comm crackled. General Imani answered. Her voice was low, trembling. Riven, what did you do? Riven watched the panicked retreating hive. We introduced the swarm to a concept they were missing. And what concept is that? Predators. Hierarchy Command Bunker. Vexor watched humans emerge from the smoke, silent, steady, unburned. Noon sun reflected off their black helmets like unblinking eyes. A soldier whispered, voice breaking. They walked through the enemy. Riven removed his helmet as he reached Vexor. Hierarchy warriors stepped back. Not out of respect. Out of fear. Vexor forced his tone to remain level. What are your casualty numbers? Riven held up one finger. Vexor inhaled sharply. One casualty? Riven corrected him. One scratched knee. She tripped. Vexor stared, disbelief cracking through arrogance. You shut down an entire hive cluster, without firing a weapon. No, Riven said. We shut down 3. Vexor stumbled back a step. Riven leaned closer, voice quiet so only Vexor could hear. You wanted human soldiers. He slipped his helmet back on. Nightfall isn't soldiers. Riven turned away. We're nightmares. The hollow swarm did not sleep. Its hives pulsed with cold metallic heartbeat, every drone linked to a neural lattice as old as the void. Fear had never existed in this network. Fear required imagination, something hives lacked. Until humans arrived. Swarm World, KRX-1, subterranean tunnel grid. Riven crouched inside a ventilation opening carved into alien alloy. His visor adjusted to the darkness, mapping structural weaknesses in thin red outlines across the tunnel walls. Beneath him, thousands of drones shifted like a living conveyor belt, metal legs scraping against resin-coated ground. They were moving slower now. Not because of damage. Because of uncertainty. Nightfall created that. Spectre 5 slid silently beside him, eyes hidden behind a matte helmet. Target density has increased by 20%. They're consolidating. Fear herds prey, Riven murmured. Never thought we'd see a hive act like prey. Riven tapped a control tile. They're not prey. They're adapting. We adapt faster. He leaned closer to the tunnel opening. A drone stopped moving. It turned its head upward, no eyes, only a sensor cluster. Riven didn't blink. He lifted his finger and traced a pattern on the wall, 3 dots, 1 vertical line. A symbol. The swarm froze. A ripple passed through the masses. That symbol now appeared everywhere Nightfall went. Painted in ash. Etched into alloy. Carved into dissolving drone cores. Biohazard Nightfall. A mark announcing something worse than death. Judgment. Spectre 5 whispered. How long until they learn what that means? They don't have to understand, Riven said. They only have to fear it. He dropped a microcharge, silent, non-lethal, just enough to force a reaction. Then he vanished into the ducts. Not even dust betrayed his movement. Hierarchy Field Command, Observation Deck. Arch-strategist Vexor stood rigid as holograms shifted overhead. His officers were frantic, pulling up tactical feeds. Every screen showed the same impossible visual. The hollow swarm was collapsing its own tunnels. They're sealing exits, Officer Relka said, astonished. They're trying to trap something. They're not trapping something, Vexor corrected. They're trapping someone. Riven hail. Nightfall. The feed from a battlefield drone displayed a corridor full of hive constructs dismantling walls with frantic movements. Friction burned the resin coating into smoke. A faint symbol was visible on one cracked panel. Biohazard. Vexor swallowed. This can't be real. Nightfall team, Spectre 2 POV. Spectre 2 crept toward the processing core, oxygen low, movement restricted. Her suit suppressed every sound. Even her pulse seemed muted. She reached the inner chamber. The swarm queenling hung suspended in gel, an infant mind with billions of simulated memories. A developing nexus that would one day command fleets. Instead of destroying it, Spectre 2 leaned close to the containment glass and whispered. I know you hear us. The gel surface twitched. It responded. The hive was listening. She placed a data tag on the glass and backed away. Riven's voice crackled in her ear. Deposit completed? Message is sent, she whispered. Withdraw without drawing attention. She smirked beneath the helmet. They're too busy panicking to notice anything. Swarm Neuro broadcast. Translated hive interference. Unknown pattern. Unknown predator. Silence before loss. Mimetic threat. Do not engage. Run. The hive had no word for fear, so it used the closest approximation. Run. 2 kilometers above the surface. Nightfall met at an abandoned observation tower, half collapsed, scorched from previous bombardment. Dust and ash coated the remains of hierarchy armor. Riven stood beside the old holographic table, reviewing a topographic model as the squad gathered. Spectre 3 removed her helmet and sat, sweat streaking black camo down her face. They're scattering like rats. That's the problem, Riven said. Rats hide. We want them cornered. Spectre 7 tightened a strap on his gauntlet. We've destabilized 3 hives. What more do you want? Riven tapped a point on the map. A blank space. No tactical data. No scans. The swarm's primary nexus, Riven said. Hidden. Shielded. We find that, we end this planet. Spectre 5 used a small knife to carve the Nightfall symbol into the tabletop. How? We don't search for it, Riven replied. We force them to reveal it. Spectre 2 arched an eyebrow. By terrifying them? No, Riven said. By making them irrational. Hierarchy command bunker. The bunker shook again. Officers clung to consoles. One display flickered, showing a new cluster of movement. A swarm massed underground. Vexer leaned forward. They're withdrawing deeper. Why? They're running, Relka said breathlessly. From the humans. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. Vexer snarled. Humans are not dangerous. A transmission arrived, encrypted. From the swarm. It displayed a single image. Biohazard. Underneath. Unknown adversary classification, predator. Hierarchy officers flinched. Riven Hale and his squad weren't soldiers. They were something hives feared. Primary Nexus Tunnel, hollow swarm core. Nightfall crawled through a chasm that trembled with hive energy. Red light pulsed like blood through the walls. Alien resin oozed and hardened around biomechanical ribs. Riven halted them with a raised hand. Ahead, drone units watched the tunnel's entrance. But instead of guarding, they trembled. Drone claws clattered against the ground as they backed away from the darkness. They're not scanning us, Spectre 6 whispered. No, Riven murmured. They're anticipating us. He stepped forward openly. For the first time since the swarm entered this galaxy, its soldiers retreated without a command. The tunnel widened into a vast chamber where the air shimmered with stored charge. The Nexus core towered above them, a swirling fusion of crystal lattice and machine logic. It thrummed with neuroprocessing. Spectre 5 unslung her deadpack. We destroy it now? Riven shook his head, removing a small transmitter. This isn't a demolition. Spectre 2 leaned in. What is it? A lesson. He pressed the transmitter to the core. Nightfall audio patches played through the entire Nexus. Every psychological terror tactic used by Earth's Black Ops interrogators. Every fear pattern recorded from conquered species. Every whisper humans used to unsettle their enemies. Found you. The Nexus screamed. Not audibly, but through seismic bursts that vibrated the chamber. Swarm drones convulsed. Riven stepped away from the transmitter. Fear isn't loud, he said. Fear is quiet. He raised his hand. Spectre 3 lights. The detonation wasn't explosive. It was neurological. A pulse of electromagnetic disruption lanced through the Nexus, severing hive communication. The core flickered, destabilized, and collapsed into molten crystal. One hive. Gone. Instantly. Nightfall moved for extraction before the meltdown consumed the chamber. Hierarchy command bunker, moments later. Every alarm in the bunker shrieked. Swarm Nexus collapsing! Infrastructure failing planet-wide! Vexer stared, stunned, as the sensors displayed a cascading blackout. The swarm wasn't retreating. It was breaking. Riven's signal came through, steady, confident. KRX-1 is no longer a hive world. Vexor swallowed. You eradicated the primary nexus? No, Riven said calmly. We taught them fear. Vexor couldn't speak. Riven wasn't finished. You wanted soldiers. You got asymmetrical extinction. The transmission ended. Nightfall extraction point, dust clearing. Nightfall gathered at the evac shuttle, silent and composed. The celebration lasted less than a minute. KRX-1's sky still burned amber from the collapsing swarm nexus when the Hierarchy Council broadcasted a recorded message to every military frequency. Human contribution acknowledged. Temporary usefulness confirmed. Temporary. Useful. Words soaked in dismissal, delivered only after nightfall made the impossible look routine. Riven Hale stood on the Hierarchy command deck, helmet tucked under one arm. The alien officers avoided looking at him. They whispered, eyes shifting between the humans and the reinforced exit doors. They weren't afraid of humans dying. They were afraid of what humans might do next. The platform vibrated as the dreadnought's engines realigned. The Hierarchy flight navigator announced, "We are returning to high command orbit. Human squad is confined to Sector 12 until reassignment." Confined. Hierarchy speak for caged. Riven didn't react. A still statue in matte black armor. Spectre 5 leaned toward him, voice low. They're boxing us in. Correct. Extraction? Not yet. Beeps flickered across Riven's HUD, encrypted messages bouncing between Nightfall helmets like sparks. Spectre 9, we walk into the trap, or we flip the trap. Riven, we watch. We learn. We choose. Spectre 6, and if they pull a trigger? Riven, they'll regret pulling it. Hierarchy War Council, 6 hours later. The council chamber felt like a cathedral built for cruel gods. Every wall curved upward like ribbed bones. Lines of light-etched alien hieroglyphics, names of conquered species. Humans weren't on the list. Yet. Vexor stood in a circle of council members. Their skin shimmered in iridescent tones, too elegant for warfare, too arrogant for humility. Their eyes tracked Riven and his squad like predators eyeing a strange creature. Human delegation, the presiding counselor said. Step forward. Riven stepped. Spectre 3, Spectre 6, and Spectre 9 flanked him, silent shadows. Vexor spoke without looking at Riven. His voice was ice wrapped in velvet. The swarm nexus collapse was unexpected. Spectre 6 muttered under his breath. You're welcome. Vexor continued unbothered. But the hierarchy does not permit uncontrolled variables. There it was. Not gratitude. Fear of losing control. You operate without oversight, another counselor added. You do not submit tactical logs. You refuse command orders. Riven answered evenly. You summon us like cattle. You treat us like tools. Tools don't explain how they work. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Hierarchy elites could handle arrogance. They couldn't handle truth. Vexor finally faced Riven directly. You will be disarmed and reassigned. Spectre 3's hand brushed her knife hilt. No, Riven said. Vexor blinked. Excuse me? We don't serve. Everyone serves something, Vexor replied. Your primitive world lacks the strength to defend itself. You need us. Riven stepped close enough that the council could hear him clearly. We don't need protection, Riven said. We need freedom. The chamber lighting dimmed. Councilors whispered. Vexor's voice sharpened. Your usefulness is over. He tapped his wrist console. The floor shifted under Nightfall's feet. The decking plates separated into a circular pattern, revealing a deep chamber lined with weapons that snapped into position, all pointed at the humans. Dozens of hierarchy soldiers poured in, armor humming with energy-restrained tech. Trapped. Surrounded. Exactly as expected. Spectre 6 whispered through comms. Plan Grey? Riven breathed once. No. He lifted his chin and looked directly at Vexor. You want our weapons? Vexor smiled. Finally, human logic. Riven dropped his rifle. The metal clanged loudly. The chamber went silent. Spectre 3 obeyed, placing her blade on the floor. Spectre 6, Spectre 9, and the others followed. 20 military-grade firearms clattered to the deck like discarded bones. Hierarchy soldiers relaxed slightly. Then Riven said, We don't need weapons. Darkness swallowed the chamber. The lights cut out. Every hierarchy system screen glitched into static. Nightfall Protocol, Stage 2. Hierarchy restraints activated automatically, locking down the deck. Except Nightfall wasn't on the deck anymore. Their suits phased them into the dark. Hierarchy soldiers swung flashlights. Empty air. Spectre 9 whispered into the darkness, voice chillingly calm. Lights are a dependency. A scream echoed. Riven stepped through the dark like smoke, whispering behind a hierarchy guard's skull. You should have left us on Earth. The soldier swung wildly. His own weapon discharged and dropped him. The counselor shouted. Find them! Find the humans! They couldn't. Nightfall wasn't hiding. They were everywhere. Spectre 6 cut power cables with precise swings. Sparks fell like burning snow. Spectre 3 disabled visors with EMP taps on helmets. One touch, one blackout. Riven moved without noise, just presence. Vexor spun wildly. Explain this. You're unenhanced. Riven materialized behind him. No enhancements. He leaned close enough that Vexor's mandibles twitched. Just evolution. Vexor lashed out with a concealed blade. Riven caught the strike barehanded. Hierarchy protocol demanded strength through augmentation, through technology, through superiority. Nightfall demanded only one thing. Choice. Riven twisted the blade from Vexor's grip and pinned him against the console. We don't kneel, Riven said quietly. Not to empires. Not to queens. Not to you. Vexor choked. You, humans, don't understand. The swarm will return. You'll need us. Riven's voice was calm enough to be terrifying. We never needed you. We needed a doorway into the Galactic War. He released Vexor, letting him fall. Spectre 5 stepped to Riven's side. Ready on your order, Major. Riven faced the Council. You don't command Earth. Earth decides its alliances. Vexor's voice trembled. And your decision? Riven stared down at him. We choose ourselves. He signaled. Spectre 9 pressed the palm to the floor. A pulse spread across the deck, shutting down every hierarchy weapon in a 10-kilometer radius. The Council screens rebooted. A single message flashed on every display. Earth does not serve. Hierarchy alarms wailed. Nightfall stood together in the center of the chamber. Not armed. Not trapped. Transcendent. Spectre 6 smirked under his helmet. So, is this the part where we run? Riven shook his head. We walk. They strode out of the council chamber, past stunned soldiers who didn't dare raise a weapon. The doors slid shut behind them. Vexor collapsed, shaking. For the first time in his life, he felt human fear.